Good morning, children. Good morning, student. We are now in the third phase of the speech or the address which is being given to the African peoples and the delegates who had come to Africa. Before going to the last part of speech, let us have a revision on earlier speech he had delivered. Now, first point, honor which was going to be given to the President of Africa, Nelson Mandela, because his government was newly elected and elected freely and fairly. To this government, the military force gave his honor, its honor, their honor. They saluted to Nelson Mandela and placed their honesty, loyalty to the freedom of Africa. But it was not earlier. If it were earlier matter, they would have not saluted him, but they would have arrested him. Second point, African had to sing two national anthems. First, the anthem for the white people, and secondly, the anthem for the black people. Because there were two races, the black and the white. Just a minute. Sorry, please. The Lord was making a very rustling sound, unpleasant sound. Now, Nelson Mandela's life before and after freedom. The points we have seen, and the adversary, the difficulty gave life to the galaxy of great leader of Africa. And fifth point is he defines courage. And sixth point is his philosophy about eros, love and agape. His philosophy about love and hatred. After having all this point of first and second part of the speech, let us go further towards the last portion of the speech. Let me start. And if you come across any new word, please ask me the meaning and try to mug up, try to follow, try to take this speech to your heart. The speech goes like this. In life, every man has two obligations: to his family, to his parent, to his wife and children, and he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. Every man has two kind of duties. Every man has two kind of obligations. Every man has two kind of work. First, his family, his parents, his wife, his children. This is the first responsibility he has to shoulder. Second, responsibility of nation. Responsibility of nation is the foremost obligation of each and every man. So Nelson Mandela clearly that every man has two kind of responsibility. First responsibility of himself and his family and fathers and parents and all this. should have to look after all these things. And secondly, man is not animal who live just like a dog or his own, but he loves his country. Country matters a lot, and that is the second obligation he has to go through, he has to shoulder it. In a civil human society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclination and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. Now, he explained that every man has two kinds of responsibility. Responsibility of his family, parent, and responsibility of nation, his people. Every man has to welcome it. Every man has to burden it. Every man has to shoulder it. But he regrets. He is very sad. He feels sad that in the country like Africa, he is not able to complete. He is not able to shoulder. He is not able to come over all these kind of responsibility, obligation which he has to do. First, he has obligation of his family, obligation of nation. But these circumstances in South Africa created by the white people did not allow him, did not permit him to complete these two kind of obligation. You know the obligation of his own and obligation of nation. He was not able to shoulder the responsibility because of the established system of government. Okay? In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people and inevitably ripped from the family and the home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and religion. I did not, in the beginning, choose to place my people above my family. But in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligation as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. Now you know, in the beginning we have seen there are two responsibilities, there are two obligations the person has to do. Secondly, we have seen that the established system of government in Africa established by the white didn't permit him to complete it. And boys, those young people, those youth who tried to complete, who tried to shoulder the first obligation regarding to his family. If he started doing all these things, then he was again not allowed to fulfill his responsibility toward himself, toward his parents, toward his family, toward his wife. So that was the system of government established by the white people. Freedom was not given to the black. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free in a very way that I could know. Free to run in the Africa. So, I am reading the passage again to you. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free. Free in every way that I could know. First, free to run in the field near my mother's hut, free to swim in the stream that ran through my village, free to grow maize under the star and ride the board back of slow moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abide by the custom of my tribe, I was not troubled by the law of man or God. This he want complete, absolute freedom. He anticipated freedom in which he was completely free, just like a child, running here and there as he liked, swimming in the rivers, playing in front of the house, playing in front of the cottage. It means he was in need of a complete freedom. From here I remember a few lines from Rabindranath Tagore, where he says, "Oh my God, let my country awake into that heaven of freedom, where the mind is, oh my God, let my country awake into that heaven of freedom, where the mind is free, where there is no fear in the mind of people." So that kind of freedom from the childhood he wanted. But when he opened his eyes and saw, the condition was very different. I was only when I began to learn that my it was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. Earlier freedom, where he could easily go anywhere, where he could run as he liked, where he could swim as he wanted, where he could play as he wanted, it was, he agreed, was complete illusion. That was blurred idea. I was not born, it was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, not clear. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, and I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedom of being able to stay out at night, read what I have placed, and go where I choose. After, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedom of achieving my potential of of learning my gift, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be abstracted in a lawful way. He wanted complete freedom. He wanted complete freedom where he could do what he liked, where he could marry, where he could have a very good family. He wanted, and he was in need of complete freedom. There, he said, as he wanted a personal, individual, complete freedom, where he thought that his personality, his freedom, his individuality should not be disturbed by any law. That was the beginning idea about the freedom of Nelson Mandela. He was in need of the personal freedom in the beginning, where he thought that he should be completely free. There should be no any obstacles created by law and government. But when I slowly saw that not only was then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined African National Congress, and that is when the hunger of my own freedom became the greater hunger of when the here again I will repeat it. That is when I joined the African Freedom Congress, and that is when the hunger of my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom. of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect and animated my life that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one and drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal that turned a family-loving husband into a man without home, that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. I am not more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not enjoy the poor and limited freedom I was allowed. When I knew my people were not free, freedom is indivisible. The chain on any one of my people were the chain of all of them, the chain on all of my people were the chain on me. It means what? His thought about the personal freedom, according to which he should be completely free. But as he grew up, he saw that his freedom was curtailed. He had not total freedom. He had not complete freedom. Later on, he saw that not only his freedom was curtailed, but the freedom of his people, his men, the black who were deprived of all this freedom. Then when he realized that all the black along with the writer was not given complete freedom, his hunger for freedom grew, and now he started fighting for the complete freedom for the nation. And now this desire of having complete freedom changed him completely, and now he become hungry for the complete freedom for himself as his own people. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. Means both should be, oppressor and oppressed should be free. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bar of prejudices and narrow-mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor are like robbed of their humanity. Boys, here, it is his opinion that if I rob someone's freedom, it means I am the robber. I am not myself free. In this way, the lesson comes to an end. And as a part of fear, I would like to suggest to write a short note on the last part, last